If you've spent some time researching light therapies or infrared saunas online, you may have come across an article on the website of a prominent far infrared sauna company warning that near-infrared wavelengths can cause cataracts. This naturally gets people pretty concerned. So let's take a look and see if this is really the case. Now first, I want to clarify the potential for bias on my part. Outside of my work with addictive wellness, I also work with my family's business, Heal with Heat, who are dealers of Clearlight infrared saunas. If you're looking to get a sauna for your home, send an email to sage@healwithheat.com and you'll be very well taken care of. The article in question is basically built on 3 studies. Even though they cite a lot of things at the bottom, it's really built on these 3 studies, and I'll link to them below. Study number 1 is from 1980, and most people have only ever seen the abstract of this, but I did some digging and was able to find the full text. You can tell it's a pretty old study. I'm pretty sure it was written on a typewriter. They looked at 90 rabbit eyes and 10 monkey eyes, and it's worth noting that rabbit eyes are very different from human eyes, and this was even admitted by the researchers in the study. There was also no control group, so it's impossible to know what actually caused the observed effects. Was it the near-infrared, or was there something else involved? They gave the animals ketamine and various different kinds of pharmaceutical eye drops to modulate the dilation of the pupils. And we recently just saw a huge eye drop recall because they contained a bacteria that could cause blindness. It's also important to note that the irradiance, which is basically the intensity of the exposure of the near-infrared light, was extremely high, ranging anywhere from 40 to 400 times what you would get from putting your face 4 inches in front of a normal red light therapy tower. Now here's where it gets really interesting. When they exposed the eyes to near-infrared with an unfocused beam, which is similar to what you would get in a sauna setting, no damage was found to the cornea, the iris, or the lens. And this remained true even when they maintained this exposure for 8 hours a day. Because of this result, they decided to change the research protocol and try using a focused beam, which is different than what you would get in a sauna, totally different. And with this method, they were able to damage the eye, but it took a focused beam of extreme power pointed right into the nerve fibers on the retina to achieve this. Now with anything related to health, dosage is always going to be a key factor. The right amount of sun exposure is great for you, but if you hold a magnifying glass at the right angle and distance to focus the power of the sun, you can burn somebody, it's no secret. Now, study number 2 is from 1984, and it looks at people with long-term occupational exposures to infrared. Now, it's not just near-infrared, but the full spectrum of infrared wavelengths. They looked at glass workers, steel workers, and iron workers who had worked for at least 20 years without using eye protection. And this work doesn't just expose you to infrared, but also UV radiation, which we know causes cataracts, and also visible light. Then you also have the confounding factors of heavy metal exposure and other toxins that you get exposed to in this kind of work. The dosage was also not comparable, so occupational exposure of 8 hours a day can't be compared to 20 to 30 minutes a day in the context of using a sauna. And to continue with our metaphor of the sun from earlier, 20 minutes a day of sun is great for you, but 8 hours a day of sun for decades every single day probably isn't going to be the best. All we can really take from this study, I think, is that being a glass, iron, or steel worker for 20 plus years is going to increase your risk of cataracts, but we don't know what exactly is driving that. Study number 3 is from 2011, and this one was done in Egypt, and most people have only also seen the abstract of this, but I did find the full text as well. 15 rabbits had their eyes exposed to light from a General Electric lamp model 2050R5010 for 5 to 10 minutes. Now, some of the rabbits were decapitated right after the study, and the rest were decapitated an hour later. Now, as we mentioned earlier, rabbit eyes have substantially different structure from human eyes, and this lamp doesn't produce just near-infrared. Also, if you kill the animals within an hour after the study, this doesn't give much opportunity for any hormetic benefits to occur. It's like if you dissect somebody's muscle tissue right after exercising, you would say, this is horrible, you should never exercise again, this tissue is destroyed. But if you wait and let it recover, then you can see that that exercise was actually going to end up rebuilding stronger tissue. The study did find that there was a change in the molecular weight of the lens crystalline and changes in a protein backbone structure. Now, I'm not an ophthalmologist, but to me, ultimately, in this study, the only real finding here sounds like don't shine a super bright light directly into someone's eye for 5 to 10 minutes. Not only is that bad for their eye, but they will probably punch you, and that's going to be bad for wherever they hit you as well. Now, on the other hand, here is a review published in the 2021 International Journal of Medical Sciences. And this takes an in-depth look at the ability of near-infrared to treat a wide variety of visual and neurological conditions. And here's a study on the ability of red light and near-infrared to improve the functioning of the eye's mitochondria to actually be able to fight declining eyesight. Now, even if this didn't convince you and you don't believe a thing I've said so far, in clear light saunas, for example, the far infrared heaters stop at the height of the shoulders, and the full spectrum heaters, which include near infrared, stop around the height of the abdomen. So this is not really even getting close to your eyes, so that's another reason not to worry about it too much. The red light therapy tower can be positioned up to head high. A lot of people do it for beauty benefits on the skin, but you can always wear protective eyewear here if it's something that you're really concerned about. Now, let me know in the comments what your assessment is of this. And if you disagree with my perspective, that's okay. Let's just keep the conversation respectful and civil. Now, before you go, here's a link to a video that I think you'd enjoy watching next, and here's one the YouTube algorithm thinks you'd enjoy. And there's a link to our website. Have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you all again next time.